my friends. This is Nicholas Villars, one half of Super Divorce, the synth pop duo from Lebanon, Ohio. And I'm here with my good brother Andrew.
Hello, I'm defeated.
We were just recording an episode of the Super Divorce Supercast and looked down. I don't know how long we'd been talking, but the recording device had filled up, and that was a crushing blow.
Yeah, I feel like we could listen back and we'll have to continue it on, but the supercast will not come in a timely fashion as you're accustomed.
Yeah.
Wait, wait for the vehicle. All right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Supercast will not be posted on this Friday. Well, it's no longer Friday. Technically, it's Saturday now. I count it as Friday because I've still not been to sleep for my Friday day.
I like your soft rules.
It makes enough sense to me. We had a really good discussion going on about religion and the utility, the future of.
Well, we're almost working on a meme now where we just never really answer Obi-Wan's questions. Whether it's you and Bender or you and me, it'll happen
Yeah.
at some point.
We were getting there. We were getting there.
Well, the best time to talk about religion is when you're just drunk.
Yeah. Fairly drunk. Obi-Wan can sympathize now that he's in the beer game with us. I remember when he first started commenting, he was like, well, I don't really drink very often. Now he's doing full, beer reviews, 6 beers in one night,
Yeah.
doing a full season of beer reviews in one evening. So, yeah. So, unfortunately, Obi-Wan is not here tonight. No one's joined so far.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's probably at work right now.
Yeah.
In Australia, and
Though it's probably a weekend for him. So maybe just out and about.
Yeah, maybe he's asleep. Or no,
Could
he's
be
not asleep. It was like whatever 5 p.m. for him.
He might be out and about.
Yeah.
Might be out on the town.
Out with the lady.
Yeah, it could be. So no big deal. But we're hanging out here on the front porch where we've spent many a night over the course of the past 6 months or so. Just
the old porch boys.
Yeah. Doing what we can, man. Don't have any Jim Croce going right now, unfortunately. Wish we did.
We could.
It'd be nice to add to the mood here. Get the crickets. There is a nice breeze going. A nice Ohio breeze right now.
Yeah, save us from the sweltering heat and humidity that we've had lately.
It's been awful. But this is nice. This is a good night to pop open the windows and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to finally break.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting a little bit of color. You can see here, there's a little color on those leaves over there.
Yeah.
And that's not just from the light up there. This is
well, off there on the horizon, got a little sun starting to come up.
Oh, I was talking about the color of the leaves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. You're talking about the weather breaking a little bit and
or the sun coming up because it's very early in the morning. We have not yet been to sleep.
No. So, it's going to be a slight delay on content coming through, but I'm at least keeping the live video going. I haven't missed a live video in months now. The last time I missed a live video was back right around when I first started going live, maybe within the first few days.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was when you started doing the live every day. It was when we were deep in the flooring project.
Yeah.
What do we got there?
Yeah, it's Obi-Wan.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Okay, there it goes. Now it shows that we've got one person here. So it's showing you Obi-Wan. I don't know if you were here when we were just talking about recording an episode of the Supercast, but Andrew and I were trying to answer your question that you had sent on Patreon. We've been talking about it for
Hours.
yeah, literally. I think it was like 2.5 hours. And then I looked down at the recording device and it had stopped recording because we had recorded for too long, apparently, and filled up all the room on the SD card. So
we'll have to find out where we stopped and come back sober and backfill and finish our entire discussion.
because we've had quite a few beers.
I just always do my cheese fries, please.
Yeah.
That's like English or maybe Australian a bit.
Beer.
Beer. Australian for beer.
You have a good geez, thanks. He said he's getting his money's worth. You are indeed absolutely getting your money's worth.
It's a fucking project, yeah.
It was a big doozy of a cast. So I hope we can pick up properly where we left off, because I mean, we were
we might have to get drunk again. Drunken recall and just go back into
Yeah.
mode.
we were really rolling there, you know, so it's a bummer it wasn't picking up the entire thing.
Well, yeah, you posed you softballed us a question where, you know, Nick and I that's our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So
Had many a conversation about that off camera. So
we go hours and hours and hours on the subject.
yeah. And unfortunately, Bender was busy last night. I explained this in the video, or not in the video, in the podcast, like in the beginning. I was going to record the Supercast by myself last night. I went out, I did Super Divorce Gets Beer by myself. I was going to come back, drink a beer, do the podcast all on my own. Started talking, and I just kept hitting spots where it was like, I just felt like I was rambling because I had no one to bounce ideas off of, and I could talk about this shit for like my entire life. So Obi-Wan said that, hold on, he heard me say that I was a Dawkins fan, and he used to love watching his documentaries too. So it's like, yeah, I wouldn't say that I would say over the course of the past few years, my views have evolved, you could say. Not to be condescending, I would just say naturally progressed from where they were. And I'm no longer in what I would call like a staunch atheist mode by any means. I think my views are complicated.
Change your Facebook relationship status
It's
with
complicated.
the Lord. It's complicated.
With the Lord. It's complicated. Yeah. No, but I think that Dawkins is he's a very smart man, and I still like him. Jordan Peterson had put it very succinctly, I believe, and he said that if Richard Dawkins were a little bit more open-minded, that he might be the greatest poet of our age, basically.
Yeah.
He could have been.
Well, I feel like to take. Hold on.
Yeah.
I feel like to take the hard line stance of God is dead and all religion is puerile. is the incorrect view to take, because religion, to sum up, the Cliff's Notes version of what we're going through is to sum up religion in a collective sense is, I think, errant. I think that religion provides several good characteristics and in template form, as we covered before. You can build a morality or a life philosophy off of it, but I stratify things as sort of science, theoretical science, philosophy, and then religion or theology is above that, and those things are constantly shifting, and theology has to sort of morph in the same way as language or oral tradition, and those things can't necessarily be quantified by hard and fast rules, because those things are constantly changing. And I feel like that's the problem with organized religion now, is that it's static. It's a snapshot in time, saying there's an absolutist view of things, and that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. I feel like all religion has, the best ones have adapted.
And that's interesting, because if you look back at like the history of Catholicism or the Eastern Orthodox Church, it's like there are a lot of church fathers and theologians and such who have been great philosophers and who have disagreed with one another to great degrees, and it's led to a lot of very interesting discussions over the course of time, and I think that's what you need. You need to be able to have that, because I think I was talking about this the other night. It's like when you look at the Bible from front to back, it's not as if there's not moral progress that's made.
No.
That's, I mean, even the most secular of lay persons would cede the idea to you that, or cede the argument that the New Testament sort of improves upon the Old Testament as far as morality goes.
Yeah.
So it's like there's an improvement being made over the course of time. So
well, I'm kind of interested to find out what like the predominant sect of Christianity is, the big one in Australia. Because you had like the Church of England. And I wouldn't imagine that Australia would be big on the Church of England. But like, what's there? Is it the Martin Luther or Calvinist or Wesleyan, or what's the theologian philosophy that guides most of what the religion is in Australia? I really don't know. But I imagine it's something that's.
You think they have a lot of mega churches in Australia?
No, not at all.
How about France? If Remy joins in at some point.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they have the more, say, laissez-faire approach to Christianity. Less rigid, but I feel like Catholicism would probably be the number one. But I don't know what would be in Australia. I want to say Catholicism, but maybe not. Maybe Protestantism, because of the late game of people immigrating to Australia. It might be more Protestant than Catholic. But, well, busy time. I guess we'll see. Throw it out, Obi-Wan. I know it's something Christianity-based. But you have such an influence from, assuming the Aboriginals indigenous peoples of Australia. I think Aboriginals is a slur now. The indigenous peoples of Australia have more of what we have with our Native Americans, which is a animal, spirit, totemic, polytheistic type religion. But I couldn't say for sure. I would say that the predominant religion there is Christianity.
Probably.
But what version?
Yeah. And in France, I'd be interested to find out like what took place after the French Revolution, because
Yep.
oh, hold on,
What do we got?
Obi-Wan says he went to a Presbyterian school. There's a decent amount of Catholics. He feels like Anglican or Church of England would probably be predominant, but hazy on what the difference really is, besides Catholic versus non-Catholic.
Well, your Church of England or Anglican Church is basically Catholicism light, which is just Catholicism without all the rules, really. But like it's regimented very similarly, where you have like there's not as much ritual, but you have it's more structured or regimented than like our. Well, he's got Presbyterianism.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Presbyterian Church right there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
so we got a
right over there.
Yeah, we're pointing
There's
right
a
at a Presbyterian
Church right over there. I went there on Christmas Eve, just for the first church service I'd been to in probably like 15 years or something, and it was nice. I enjoyed it. It's a nice church, though. I couldn't say that I subscribe to the Presbyterian. I don't prescribe to the Presbyterian version of Christianity. Presbyterians, to my understanding, are like an offshoot of Calvinists, which I'm not really down with. I don't really get into the whole predestination kind of shit. Just not for me, not my cup of tea. Some people are all about that. What did Obi-Wan say? What's Presbyterian versus Methodist?
Well, Methodist. That's the John Wesley version of Christianity. That's that interpretation, and that's what I grew up in: is Methodist, Wesleyan, Nazarene. So there's a lot of Catholic stuff. It's less Protestant than the Lutheran version of Christianity. And I don't know. When I was younger, my family, we sort of joked about it being sort of like the diet Catholicism, where there was this there's a lot of Catholic influences, but there's not as much emphasis on Mary or the saints, and there's no confession or like atonement or catechism or anything like that. So it's a bit more free bowling in the sense of it's not once saved always saved like Baptist is, but there is a repentance aspect to it, but it's less structured than Catholicism is.
Which is interesting because over the years, I've come to have a greater appreciation for the. Well, hold on.
Nope.
Okay, they turned. I've come to have a greater appreciation for the sects of Christianity that actually stress tradition and that stress the importance of the ritual and, to an extent, the dogma. I don't think dogma should be extremely rigid, where you can never adapt or evolve with, we could call them new revelations concerning like morality and such. But I think that Christianity has come to a point, at least in the US, where it's like it's almost whatever you want it to be, and at that point it's just like a relativistic kind of mishmash of feel-good new agey bullshit that doesn't really mean anything at all.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and throw out like a nuclear take here, and I think that Church of England or Anglican Church is kind of bullshit because it was motivated by Henry VIII to circumvent the rules of Catholicism. And then he just made that the official religion of England, and he just made it up, basically. Just like, here's the parts I like, and here's the parts I don't like.
Yeah.
And then that just sort of took off. So I'm not a big fan of that, but some people are. A lot of people in England are really big into that one.
And that'd be I'm sure that would be a nuclear take to some people.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think it's on the same level as like Mormonism here we have in the States, or Scientology, which is just madness. But to a degree, Mormonism is very similar, where it just you sort of cherry pick things you like and don't like, and I think that's where the Church of England is. I think it's less culty than Mormonism is, but it's still pretty weird.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to pick and choose. If you have a moral code and a moral construct and all that jazz, you have to stick to it. You can't just say, well, for me personally, here's my personal belief, and that's what the religion is now. That's just kind of nonsense.
For me, I just feel like
I can divorce my wife and behead her. And now everyone else believes that too. It just, yeah. I mean, to have a person who is not a theologian and not a philosopher in any way, just a person who wants to manifest their own desires, is not the way to take the Christian church. But I'm sure the cast will come out at some point in time, Obi-Wan, but long story short, I feel like there's always a place for religion, in whatever form, and we're going to get to it on the cast, but my opinion is that Christianity needs a reformation, Islam needs a reformation, Judaism has basically been the same for a really long time, so I don't know that you really need to touch that. They've been sticking to their guns for quite some time, but
I don't know if I would say Christianity needs a reformation so much as it needs an orientation.
Yeah.
It needs to be like, well, there's so many different like offshoots at this point, so it's like you don't even know what people mean when they say they're Christians.
Yeah.
So
well, it's a catch-all now.
Yeah.
But you've got all the different. There's no real Christian theologian philosophers anymore that are really taking the new level. What do we got here?
Obi-Wan said, okay, the differences all seem pretty irrelevant to me within Christianity. The only important message in it to me is treat others the way you'd want to be treated, but maybe I'm ignorant.
I mean, that's... I think that's sort of a universal truth.
Yeah.
Where this sort of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where it comes down to, like, basic human rights. And
but I think that the important thing to remember is that even though that seems very common sense and apparent to us right now, is that that's not always been the case. And that if you are thinking in purely logical and reasonable terms, there's nothing that is exactly illogical about getting everything that you can get right now at the expense of other people. That's not a completely illogical or incoherent philosophy to follow, to the extent that you can make it work.
Yeah. Well, I would say that in traditional mainline Christianity, to have what you want right away as you want it would be, you'd be crossing over into the world of Satanism. Yeah,
exactly. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that like I think a lot of people just assume that we can have that type of morality without any foundation in religion. It's just, it seems so common sense and so apparent to us at this point that um, we don't necessarily look back in reverence uh, at these sort of founders and the people who began to carry out that mindset, because there was a time and there was a place when that wouldn't have been apparent to anyone, where it would have been like every man for himself, take what you can get when you can get it. That makes the most sense because you don't know what the other person's thinking. You don't know if they're to be trusted. You don't know if they're going to trust you. So just go for it when you have the opportunity. Let's see. Obi-Wan said, Christianity has given us that empathy as the norm now, but we don't have to go on only being good just because we're scared of going to hell. No, I don't think that that's true either. But I think that you have to have a bit more nuanced view of what exactly hell is, and that's not so explicit. That's something that I've come to realize, is that there are people who are steeped in religion. People who are steeped in not only Christianity but also Judaism, in its various forms, in both religions, who can't agree on what exactly hell means. And so it's like, what do you mean by that?
Even in Christianity.
Right, even in Christianity. So it's like, one thing we can be sure of is that you can go to some place that is, for all intents and purposes, hell on earth, if you act counter to the universal laws that you should be following, let's say.
Well, and what we were talking earlier about the Gnostic and Coptic churches, which are early Christian churches. All right, if you go to the sort of redacted books of the Bible, one moment. One of those books is the Gospel of Judas, and that's one that I really like. Is that Judas in that book is portrayed as the hero, as the person who's like the closest confidant of Jesus. And during the Last Supper, they go out into like a little courtyard, and Jesus is talking to Judas and preparing him for the events that will lead up to his arrest and eventual crucifixion. And he's confessing to Judas that heaven isn't a physical place you go to. Heaven is a place that is within you, and also simultaneously hell is as well. And you have to, one moment, you have to work on finding the things within yourself and in your world that creates your own heaven. And that's very Eastern type philosophy, and that got sort of cut out of the end book. But I like that take on it, is saying that there's no determinism, there's no anything. You have the free will to follow the template of Christianity or not. And if you do follow the template of Christianity and follow the example of Jesus, or whatever you want to call him, then you will follow the template that will bring you to heaven on earth. You will have this inner peace and harmony, and that's not something that you should scoff at. But that's the case for a lot of religions, is that if you follow the rules, that you'll find within yourself something greater than just basic survival existence. You're not an animal anymore. You have something more divine or special about you. So making heaven and hell in the canon text be a physical place of eternal paradise or eternal suffering, it takes a whole new spin. So we'll say the early church, and continuing on with the Gnostics and Coptics, who are very much into that particular philosophy, you aren't too far off from being an atheist, because they're not saying that anything happens after you die. They're saying heaven or hell is what you make for yourself.
And really, from what I've learned of the Eastern Orthodox Church is that it's an odd thing when people are within that sect of Christianity. It's an odd thing for them to look at sort of your mainline corner church in America interpretation of Christianity, where God is literally this man sitting in the clouds who's judging everyone as time goes on, and and that angels and demons are literally like beings the same way that people are. There's supposed to be, I guess, more representations and symbols of realities of human life, we could say that, and that God is beyond description. In this sense, a proper Christian might even be able to say that God does not exist the way that a human being does,
Yeah.
or the way that your dining room table does. It's
Yeah.
beyond that.
Yeah.
You can't put it into words, and if you tried to, you're missing the mark.
Well, it's,
So
in practical terms, it's a human brain, which is powerful as a human brain is limited to its own understanding. So to try to understand the will or intent of a cosmic being is a fruitless effort. What do we got?
oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Let me go back just
a smidge. Since we're having a deep and meaningful here, I thought I'd let you guys know that my mom let me know this morning she'd been diagnosed with breast cancer. She told me that when she told my brother, he cried, and I feel guilty that while I'm definitely sad, I don't feel sad enough. I'll tell you now that about 5 years ago, my father was diagnosed with like a very aggressive lymphatic cancer, and he passed away last November. And I struggle with the same feelings as well, or did for a long time. And I don't know. Even now, I grew up. My father was a very religious person. My mother was as well, but my father more so. He was into the whole. He was like a deacon or whatever. You're a higher up, not the main guy, but he was a support character in religion, in the Wesleyan version of Christianity. We eventually settled on Nazarene, and I pulled away from that years ago before he was ever diagnosed, and became sort of hard atheist. And then I would say, what's it been? Probably 16 or 17 years ago, came back into it into religion in a whole different way. And my father and I, we had a lot of discussions. He was the kind of guy who could read ancient Greek and was reading like the original texts and stuff like that. And my father and I had lots of discussions. He was a guy who had, the Bible on the shelf, and also Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. So, I don't know, a very practical approach to religion. So we had a lot of interesting discussions, but I would say emotionally, it's hard to really process like what emotions you should go through. Like how sad can you or should you be? When my father was diagnosed, I sat around for 5 years just waiting for a bad phone call. And then eventually one day it came. So in a way, when that phone call came, there was a sense of relief because he had been given a death sentence years earlier than that. And there's nothing fun or good about that. I mean, my father was an old guy, but not as old as he should have been. So I don't know what to tell you there, as far as how sad you should feel about that sort of thing. I know that breast cancer, depending on what stage it's in, that's a very treatable thing. So I don't know. I mean, for me, when I first heard, there was just a like a numbness and a sense of feeling stunned. So I guess in your own way, just just see where it goes, and you'll feel it out as you figure it out, because it's like I knew as things were going along, where everything was leading. So in a way, it prepared me, and in a sense, it never prepared me because I was never ready for it. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, he said, thanks. And he said they've apparently caught it early. She still needs 5 weeks of radiation, though. So, sounds like that's a better scenario than some people get.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, breast cancer has a low mortality rate, especially if they catch it early. Same with like prostate cancer and things like that. There's a lot of things that they can do, like mastectomies or radiation or whatever, to sort of assuage that. I mean, there's a guy that I used to know. His wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, had a single mastectomy, and then it came back, and then she had to have a double mastectomy, and then radiation after that. And I can't remember what they call it, like a 00 or something like that, where it wasn't really a matter. She was cancer free, but it was like it's gonna come back at some point in time. So they're just sort of living it out as they go. I don't know how old your mother is or anything like that, but I would say from experience, just make the best of time. It's a good wake up call, I guess, in a weird way.
well, so, well, definitely, well, as trite as it may seem, I'll be praying for Obi-Wan. I guess I don't have the traditional view on that. I don't think God's the person who's gonna grant you the winning lottery ticket or anything like that. It's more of like I'll take the time to put it out there. I'll say that, So, for what it's worth, I don't know what that does. I don't know, but I guess it's a step beyond thoughts and prayers. People say that oftentimes, but
Good vibes.
Good vibes. I'm thinking of you.
I mean, I feel like it's a normal thing to sort of question why, and then you get into like the cosmic level of why do bad things happen to good people and all that sort of jazz, and you either end up in a good place or a bad, and that's just going to be wherever you end up. I hope it's a good place, but you know, I definitely play the wait and see before
Yeah.
you know, go out tearing your clothes and cursing God.
Yeah. Yeah, don't
What do we got there?
what? On the
You said something.
oh, let me say here. Oh, you said sorry if you brought the conversation down. No, not at all, man. No. Don't, no need to apologize. This is why we're here. So we can all chat about whatever we need to.
Yeah.
So
Your friends in America, we've been through the same things.
yeah.
We're all connected. It's the illusion of separation,
Yeah.
and that's to me one of the biggest things is that we're all one in a way, but we create barriers between us to say that we're different, and I would say that that's just not true, except in the case of radical Islam, and those guys are dicks.
Also, we were the first people to go to the moon. So
Yeah,
you
we
know.
got you there, Australia.
Yeah,
What do you got? Scorpions?
big spiders. Obi-Wan said he still recorded like an hour of content today, so he's not really stressed. He's good.
Yeah. I mean, we were peeking at the Foster's review, but we had a couple beers today. But I'm glad that you finally got around to Foster's.
Yeah, a few beers. I'm looking forward to checking out your Foster's review, but today we had a lot of Star Wars to watch, and then I had to record a guest vocal spot that I'm doing on someone else's album. Well, I had to write for it actually, and then actually record it, do like a demo recording and send that to the guy, and then Andrew and I sat down and did the podcast. That was like 2.5 hours, and then we came out here and we've been doing this for almost an hour. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so it's been pretty nonstop, but yeah. He said you went to the moon thanks to our big dish. Ha. Just joking. Yeah, well. Yeah. We'll see who gets to Mars first, pal.
Oh, Elon Musk is a private corporation, so it doesn't really count.
It'll be Grimes. Just gonna send Grimes to Mars.
I don't doubt that. Actually,
Yeah.
she's already there. Yeah. She's there in spirit.
Oh. I don't know how much juice my phone has left. I got like the 10% notification just like a few minutes ago, so we might be.
Pull down tray.
You see here? Oh, 5%. Only 5%. We better start to wrap it up here because I don't want to get cut off before we can say goodbye. But Obi-Wan, I feel like throughout the course of our podcast, I think we delved into your Patreon question pretty damn well.
We'll finalize it for sure.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
So
You've already been burned once.
what do you say? No, the sun must be just about to come up. See you later. Yeah, we're gonna go soon. I would just before I go here, I want to recommend a couple of fellas to look up on the YouTubes if you're looking for some more fresh fly content when your super divorced boys aren't around. I'm guessing that maybe you've listened to or watched some of Jordan Peterson at this point. I feel like you probably have. I could be wrong.
He's in the field.
Yeah. Ethan Van Sciver did all the illustrations for his new book. So I feel like you might know Jordan Peterson. You should look him up. Look up his YouTube channel if you have not. And also look up Jonathan
Pajot. He's another one of my favorite YouTubers right now. Not enough JBP yet. Okay. Well, check him out, especially if you're interested in the religion topic right now. He did a whole series on the psychological significance of the biblical stories, and it's like 15 parts, and it's really good. I know a lot of people know of Peterson because of like his sparring with SJWs and such, but like he's been practicing as a clinician for like 40 years almost, and he's been a professor for almost the same amount of time. He's written books before. So there's a lot more to the guy than just like SJWs don't like him. Even though he is good at putting them in their place, like he's got a lot of really good things to say. So check him out. And Jonathan Pajot, Jonathan, last name Pageau. Look up his YouTube channel. I think you'll dig his stuff. So same for anyone else watching later. Some of you will be open to that. Others will have decided that I'm just a total Nazi at this point. So. Yeah. So.
Recommending all these Canadians.
Yeah. All these Canadian Nazis. What's wrong with me? So, yeah.
Got off easy on Juno Beach from D-Day. Just saying.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I think we see you, Australia, on your Sword Beach or whatever it was.
Well.
Casual walk in the park.
Well, you got anything else?
Not right now. I think the podcast, when we finish that up, we'll address the rest and we can retroactively accommodate this conversation.
All right. Yeah, well, we hadn't done a good front porch cast in quite a while, so it's good to get back out here and not be... All right, we'll see you later. But it's good to be back out here and not be drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And about to die because of
just
sanding through polyurethane.
Even at 3 in the morning, it's just hot as shit out here, but cooler than it is in there.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining in here, and be back tomorrow at some point. And until then, y'all take real good care.